welcome everyone. Find a good spot. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Carol Edelstein. Along with Robin Barber, we are co-founders and co-directors of Gallery of Readers, and we're so pleased to be hosting this event today. The readers today are Leo Hwang and Jennifer Jacobson. The order of events is that Jennifer will introduce Leo, he'll read. We'll take a really short, just a few minutes of break to stretch, and then Leo will introduce Jennifer. She will read. This is being live streamed, which is why we're not taking more of a break, because it leaves out the people, whoever you are, listening from afar. And then I'll say a few words at the end. So you have a treat in store. Thanks for coming out. And Jennifer is going to introduce Lee.
Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Terrific. Good. It is my extreme privilege to introduce Leo Hwang, who received his PhD at the University of Massachusetts in geosciences with a focus on the diverse community economies of artists and artisans in Franklin County. Leo has an MFA from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst and his BA in English and Fine Arts from the University of the South. His work has appeared in the Racial Equity and Justice Institute Practitioner Handbook, the Handbook of Diverse Economies, Human Being and Literature, the Sage International Encyclopedia of Travel and Tourism, Route 9, Rethinking Marxism, Solidarity, Economy 1, Building Alternatives for People and Planet, Meat for Tea, the Massachusetts Review, Glimmer Train Stories, Rivendell, Can We Have Our Ball Back? Fiction, Three Candles, Gulf Coast, the Vermont Literary Review, and the Dickinson Review. He was the recipient of the Rosselli D. Philippus Scholarship at the Napa Valley's Writers' Conference and has been awarded scholarships to the Breadloaf Writers' Conference. As if that weren't enough, he has taught at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Mount Holyoke College, Greenfield Community College, and Westfield State University, and served as the Dean of Humanities, Engineering, Math, and Science at Greenfield Community College for over 16 years. He is currently the Associate Dean of Inclusive Excellence at the College of Natural Sciences at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Please help me welcome Leo.
Thank you so much. It's really a privilege to be here, and thank you for the Gallery of Readers and Jennifer for that wonderful introduction. And it's nice to be here in the library. It's what a great space. So I've been doing a series of writing that sort of emerges out of a desire to recapture my creative voice, because I've been pulled away from that in so many different directions with academic stuff and work and life, and so I've started a daily practice of writing, and so what I'm reading from comes out of that, I try and give that out into the world in the most immediate sense right after I write it, and then I get to shape it a little bit in the afterwards, and so you get the result of some of that today. This first one's called Rain is a Blessing. The rain is a blessing, kissing life into limbs. The earth is roiling with growth, with sprouting hostas, asparagus, and knotweed. How short our memory is. Every spring is an awakening, how it feels to have a forest become dappled in colored light, how distance narrows and sound becomes more precise. I am an animal in the forest, and you are an animal in the forest. Who knows if we will ever see each other again once you pass from sight? The world is vast. There are too many dangers, too many questions. Each cave looks like any other. Smell the unfamiliar air, deep. What does that not stir? What does that not remind me of? I am not an animal in the forest. The rain streams gently off the skylight like tears on a cheek. I am a man in bed in a house where everyone else is sleeping. I wake every morning like this as if it is a desire, something central about the loneliness that I crave. I think I am incorrigible and damned to a life of lustful mornings. All things that stir me open my eyes. A quiet parking garage at night, the river so broad and full, the sound of cars passing on a wet street, listening to birds as they return to the trees, the smell of compost as I turn the soil, how it feels to hug my son before we part for the day, an unanswered call that goes to voicemail, how a day can become like a glass and shatter into hundreds of tiny, beautiful shards, 3 fingers, the refrigerator light, the taste of fresh kimchi, bright and crisp, how we joke about the sink now and my silly divination of dirty household items, the smell of toast with jam, how I ordered gluten-free as my mother might, the dry, thick slices, the tree-lined street and the farm that crawled all the way to the sidewalk, how long it takes for a body to recover, for a body to heal. All the things I miss. All the things you tell me. All the people who have slipped away. All the things I did not do. And then the next. I am a little bit less than how I imagine myself to be. I imagine myself to be as I once was. I imagine myself to be as I dreamed myself to be. Are we not all actors in this theater? How you turn the light down low so the neighbors do not see. What do you keep? I am dreaming about writing and rewriting, a lesson plan for a workshop. There are breakout rooms, each corresponding to a question. What do you choose to keep? The voices of the earnest. This won't be but a moment in time. The way a summer night with fireflies comes and goes, the rituals of courtship and mating, male birds preening and cavorting, light on, light off. How vast are distances when you are an insect. There is a small nation in the backyard. The boy who never left the country, his entire life was trying to write a college essay and had never been to the city. No smoking on the premises, broken down cars in the driveway, a couple of dogs panting in the sunlight, the sounds of lovemaking, like the fireflies, like the chicken squabbling over the upset. How it feels to hold you in my arms after we are done, the sense of peace, the quieting of mind. How easy it is to become like the fireflies, how the lights slow, the post-coiled outskirts of the evening, light on, light off, darkness, the sounds of night. There is no distance between leaving or staying. Touch me here again until it feels good. Whisper your instructions in my ear. 2 parts flour to 1 part sugar. Again, I wonder about the cinnamon, the butter, the cinnamon, the butter. Who was going to live in that distance? The riverbank overgrown with weed, how the fallen trees move over the time. Such giant fixed objects are only temporary. I am listening to you breathe voices as you sleep. It is almost a conversation. It is like a cat purring. When have you last called my name? Let me hear it on your lips, and I will shape your name on mine. Are you still there? Are you still listening? Who are you dreaming of tonight? I am playing the lottery, but the odds are stacked against me, especially since I am only buying imaginary lottery tickets. How much luck can one imagine? How vast is it from the house to the river, the breadth of the towns and villages, the city in the distance. How we are all beautiful in our own ways. How the first bird call of the morning feels like the first time we met. What do you keep? So these pieces I think of as poems, but they're also sort of blocks of text because of the way I'm writing them, and I can talk about that at some other time when we have more time. But they come out as like big blocks. So they're almost like prose poems. They're almost like short fiction in some ways. And some are more narrative than others. This one's called Radical Honesty. You look over there and tell me what happened. The way the red-tailed hawk circled over the highway, and after some dramatic swooping, alighted on a pine tree and disappeared. I wish the feathers that splayed and shook as I changed direction, altered course, became a turtle that did not make it across the asphalt. Sadness in shapes. The way to serenity is through openness and honesty, radical fear about radical truth. Has Adrienne taught me one thing? I'm trying to practice it, trying to remember to circle back like the red-tailed hawk, return again and again. This is how you speak to your doctor. This is how you speak to your partner. This is what you neglected to share the first time. This is the thing I was scared to say because it opens my heart. This is what I did not reveal because I have a tender belly. Can I touch your arm? Trace the leaves on your tree? Let's walk among the river, sit on the benches, talk to our uncles, talk about our uncles, how we live with integrity in secret. Is it a secret if you do not tell? The doctor's recommendation is a gentle push to consider a forgiving professional. This is how I spell my name. This is how I look when I wake up in the morning. This is the first thing I say to you as I kiss you goodbye. Did you tell me something new? A slow train, plastic succulents. I almost called the flower arrangement at dinner pretty, and you said it's okay to call a fake thing pretty. Our neighbor made a name for herself after she moved in by planting plastic flowers in the yard. Bursts of blue, yellow, red emerging from the melting snow until the colors faded or the wind stole them away the way the wind steals the recycling every once in a while. We all remember her name. She was practicing something in her own right, her own radical honesty as a transplant to this colder climate. After dinner, there's music. The band plays with beautiful intensity, and every nuance is audible. The singer has new glasses, or new hair, or a new jumpsuit, and her guitar is a serpent with the most sublime, slow solo, each note gently placed in the most perfect moment. That is the practice as well. That is the moon rising over the Holyoke Range, how pleasing it is. The moon as recumbent as the hawk with all its fine feathers alighting in the trees. About disassociation. I talk to my son about disassociation, though I don't call it that. Sometimes we have to be less passionate beings and talk more about what needs to happen, what the root of the problem is. A tree-lined street where all the sidewalks are broken and underneath the trees grow stronger, feel their way around stones and city pipes. A slender strip of asphalt is a thing of no consequence. I am a hypocrite and tell my son not to get overwhelmed by existential thoughts. That was my specialty, to become incapacitated by my own misgivings and the possibility of what might not happen. That voice is quieter these days. Maybe walking on a broken sidewalk is closer to walking a path in the woods. In some ways, I am a stranger to myself, the way a body changes over time, how sometimes the reflection of a person is what's within. I stare across the slate-shingled rooftops. The cool evening air eases in through the cracked window and blows across my naked body like a wave. It is delicious to be alive, to feel a cool spring evening across my chest. I lift my arms to the night, like fingers, the gentle touch of nails. I am less a tree root, less a stretch of broken asphalt, less a disappointed man, less a knot of hot smoldering steel, and more like the cool evening air blowing across the room like it's a birthday cake. I go out to look at the moon behind the trees, and almost obscured, but almost unmistakable. How it is like a whispered promise. I move my head so I can hear it better. Ask you to say it again and again. Today it is already light out. The maples are early and change the light in unexpected ways. I am different than I once was. Some days the shape of my shadow is less a man and more an animal, more a passing bus, more a steady tree. Can you speak? Can you move your limbs in the wind? Can you dance a little bit to the music on the street? I'm a little too old to fall down gracefully. Walk carefully. Walk carefully like the night is a telescope. This small child, this loud automobile, this arguing couple, this beating sidewalk, the things I neglect, the sky, the building's facade, the rug store, the spilled bag of spicy Cheetos, how I walk in the city and how I walk in the country. We are alive, and that is the root of the problem, the tender misgivings. My first real kiss was in a Buick. My first real kiss was in a Buick while I was dizzy with wine coolers. I was a disappointing date because the drink made me moody and tired. Maria was a senior and took me to her prom despite being only in 9th grade. I had followed her around like a puppy for days. In chef's class, she made me spaghetti and I was smitten. While my mom stayed up until the early hours of the morning and fell asleep on the living room couch, I sat on a bench seat parked at the top of the driveway. I had no idea what a kiss could feel like. There is experiencing something, and there is after experiencing something. There is innocence, and then forever after, there is craving. There is a vernal pool suddenly flush with tadpoles and frogs. There's listening to rock and roll in Dave's basement while pushing a wheeled office chair around across the linoleum. There's riding my 10-speed across town in the early morning light before there are cars on the streets and I could follow the smoothness of the median lines without worry. The world of fresh clam, a glass of sweet tea with ice, a dip in the reservoir at night after hopping the fence. I wonder if that was the birth of yearning. Before, I could not imagine anything more delightful than being held in an embrace. That was all I wanted in a relationship. To stand by the flat files in art class and hug the girl with Cyndi Lauper hair. I think she grew disenchanted with my inexperience, but tolerated me because how long could that cusp of adolescence last? How an embrace or kiss at that age might have to last you years before a memory would replace it with another. Like kissing a balloon and imagining how you might kiss a breast if ever given the chance. Or reading a story about a boy who is captured and imagining having no choice but submission. A child's heart is vulnerable. To open it between parted lips is like a question without answers. Will you return to this moment years from now and place a damp finger on it, like turning a page of a library book? Will you listen to how the world sounds in the moments before dawn when you stand outside and the car pulls away and everything is delightfully disheveled? Will I remember you as before, as after? speak with fingers. To speak with fingers, spelling letters on your clavicle. A is for ache, the dull ache of longing and the pull of something meaningful. B is for blow a gentle breath across an ear as if you are listening to what you cannot hear. C is for caress, breast and nipple, to become an artist with touch. And so on, each letter a series of raised dots, each letter traced with sharp teeth, each letter outlined with a delicately shaped nail, each word pronounced by a shared tongue. This is a day like any other, except time is the biographer of change, the way the second hand moves, the way we grow older and see ourselves through the lens of memory. Is this not the body that was once a child? The man who carries a heart within that is also the heart of a boy at the ocean, a large expanse of unattended beach, the driftwood tangled with fishing line and seaweed, the smell of decay, the sticky sweetness of ocean and sand and salt, the taste you bring to the ocean on your face and in your hands, how it is to taste ocean on your body. Let's pretend to travel somewhere and list the books we would bring. Look up at the starless night, how the clouds roil like an ocean, the boulder caves on the Gloucester coast, the roughness of barnacles, the warmth of sun, how the sea rises and falls, eddies and flows, spilling over and around. Sometimes we measure happiness by meaning and purpose. Sometimes we measure happiness by an accounting of its extravagant moments. Let's imagine a letter written on an old Underwood typewriter, the way a thing is valued in its production. Every letter pressed into the page, echoed on the platen, the regularity of spacing, the slight jiggle of a line. It is what inspires happiness, the imperfections of you and I. How are we only measured annually, as if we might be still growing, learning new things, acquiring new skills, a line drawn on the kitchen door frame, initials and a date. Remind me to tell you about the dog my father trained to ring a bell. Listen, can you hear that? It's me remembering the bell as clear as ice. You read me something, and I will read you something. Whisper the prepositions in my ear. I, you, we, how can it not become like a lost mitten? After, between, alongside your ocean. Okay, I have two more for you. I've swallowed a stone. I have swallowed a stone. It sits deep inside me. Mountain streams with cold, cold water, moss and lichen, slippery rocks. The stone is now a permanent fixture, like the heart, liver, or kidney. It is taken into account when I stand on a scale in the doctor's office. I have swallowed a stone, I tell the nurse, as they stare at the weights. I have an appointment to trace the lines of my body, how blood courses from one organ responsible for so much happiness. I wave my arms in the darkness like I am a clock, and you might wake and read me, reach out and touch those arms and pull me back down to bed to hold you as you sleep. I listen to you breathe, how it is confusing, in and in and in, as if you are a balloon, and then is quiet as equilibrium is reached, and then it begins again. A pebble is not much bigger than a seed. A body is fertile ground for many things. I wish I had a shovel to open my arm and show you all that is growing there, the way one turns the soil to expose the carrots hidden below, fresh from the earth, rinsed in a cold bucket, so sweet and delicate. I have never tasted a finer carrot than one pulled from your arm. You can spell all the words like a spilled alphabet, and I will still discover a truth. What is tender, what has become callous, how time ages a thing, sometimes softer and more gentle. If you hold me, you will find I am still as tender as a child. Sing me a lullaby, and I might shed a tear. Forgetful in the morning, it is only at night that I remember. Tell me what you are looking for. Let us seek what you can find. I am a question. Did you get an answer? How we move from taut to trembling, everything that has been expressed, how one moment is placed in alignment with the next, and all the space that exists between them. So much dancing of the molecules, all the temper of light and charge of synapse. This is the life we have led. These are the dreams we've dreamt. This is a story I can tell. Don't you want to tell stories too? I am a slow man with a tender palm. Read it gently because it is too easy to lose faith in the world. I have swallowed a pebble no bigger than a seed. In me it will sit as a monk sits reciting prayers. This is a river. So this is the last one I'll read today for you, and I'll dedicate it to my wife, Debbie. The Strata of Love. The old stereo in the basement had a record player that dropped multiple albums on the spindle. It was like a personal jukebox, the early form of shuffle play. Side A, side A, side A. Each album dropping with a gentle precision. I used to study the mechanics of the machine the way a fascinated child learns about the world, looking closely at the small levered notches, their relationship to switches and knobs, the position of the tone arm. So it is as adults we learn one another's bodies, what parts we love and caress, what parts surprise and excite us. And as we grow older and more familiar, there is comfort that comes with age and time, how the switches and knobs become second nature. You don't need to look at labels or contemplate settings. Over dinner, we ask each other questions. It's an interview of repair. There is something about the questions that seem to heal today's wounds and make us laugh at ourselves. I tell you how hard it is for me to find my genuine smile. We never do the homework we're supposed to. It's the first outside dinner of the season. Our bodies still anticipate cold as we sit close and listen to one another. It is impossible to forget a good day, and it is impossible to remember the good days, except that sometimes the good days lie on top of good days and other good days, like records waiting to be played, and really, it's too much to keep in order, more than a specific memory can hold. The playlist becomes a soundtrack accompanying us through our days like a film, mostly a subtle accompaniment that we don't even recognize most of the time until we're singing along with a scene. The radio in the film becomes our radio, the song, our song, the joy, the happiness, the sadness, our joy, happiness, and sadness. Even now, we are still learning. It's a slow pleasure. Can we never let go of anyone, of anything? It's like entropy you offer. It is not the word I was looking for. We forget and lose things all the time. If we follow the current trajectory, we would become the paupers of love. We tell the waiter insincere thoughts. My mother would have sent back the mussels. It is not like entropy. It is more like accretion, the sediment and residue of days, the superposition of the strata of love. Thank you very much. So do you want me to give a minute before I introduce?
Yeah, this is a good time to just meditate, stretch, 2 minutes, just like, yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay, I'm going to call you back. So I'm really pleased to introduce Jenifer Jacobson. Jenifer Jacobson's writing appears in the Master's Review, Chronogram, Linea, Switch, Jubilat, and elsewhere, with honorable mentions in Glimmer Train, Hunger Mountain, Symphony Space, and the Tennessee Williams Festival. I had a friend who was always proud to be with someone else who had been in Glimmer Train, so we both glimmer, yeah. She is the recipient of a Creative Teaching Fellowship from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, the National Storytelling Network's Brimstone Award, and her writing has been graciously supported with residencies from Straw Dog Writers Guild and Turkey Land Cove Foundation. The founder of When Children Save the Day, an educational project uniting storytelling and social action, Jenifer has worked in K-12 schools, libraries, and museums in Massachusetts and New York City. She created the Family Storytelling Project with Voices from Inside for incarcerated women and their families. Born in Zomba, Malawi, Jenifer now lives in Western Massachusetts and works as the Director of Community Engagement in the English department at UMass Amherst. In the summer, she teaches creative writing as part of Smith's pre-college program. Please welcome Jenifer Jacobson.
This is like a constellation of everyone I know and love, and a couple other people included, so thank you all for coming. Just incredible. And Leo, thank you for that beautiful, beautiful reading. I have to say, I have been lucky enough to know Leo since 2014 when I saw his band play. So, there are more surprises coming from him than I can imagine. So thank you, thank you. And I want to also say a special thank you and hello. Hi, Willa. Willa is probably our youngest audience member. She brings the median age down just a little. Hi, babe. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. You know what? It is what it is. I'm so happy to be in this library. I am a card-carrying member of the library here at Forbes, and I want to say hands off our library funding, and what can we do to be sure that we are as supportive as possible? So thank you all for coming. And also thank the generous folks at Gallery of Readers, Carol, Robin, and Elizabeth George, who have made this event possible and really through their hard work uplift the literary arts in this community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank also two longtime writing cohorts, many of whom are here, Great Darkness and the Manuscript Group, for their encouragement, feedback, and recently for their patience as I took a break from my writing to work on a passion project with my parents, the Malawi memoir, which is finally out in the world. Hello and welcome to family and friends and neighbors. Your love and support are lifelines and essential components of making art and keeping me grounded. I've chosen to read 3 pieces today. The first are short, and come so that we can maybe come into the narrative trance together. You can get used to my voice instead of Leo's. And the third is a longer piece. It's 2 chapters from my novel in progress, Private Lessons. It's a story set in China during the democracy uprisings that ended in the horrific use of lethal force by the government on students, citizens, hunger strikers in Tiananmen Square. When I was 27, I left my job in New York to move to Hangzhou, one of the most beautiful cities on earth. And on April 15th, 1989, I had just signed a contract for another year of teaching when the death of Hu Yaoban ignited a spark that resulted in 7 weeks of demonstration by millions of people in Tiananmen Square. But Beijing wasn't the only city where demonstrations took place. Based on primary sources and eyewitness accounts, Private Lessons tells the story of an American painter in Hangzhou in 1989, when love and rebellion have deadly consequences, and the impact of not telling the truth changes people's lives forever. But I'll start with a short piece called Wonder, which I find is very much in conversation with some of the work that you've been writing. Wonder. If I were me and you were a firefly and it were summer, would I find you? Would I follow you through wet grass to moss under the chestnut tree? Would you let me catch you? Singing, would I place you in a jelly jar, aluminum foil top, feed you twigs, broken leaves, and chocolate? Take you to my room and whisper until your wings grew cramped and you lay still? Or would I release you back to chestnut leaves, to mist rising off the brook, to the blue-white glow of 7 sisters shimmering? Alighting on my arm, would you drink the summer plum of my skin? Would wings emerge from under my shoulders? Would I forget the warmth of red knit socks? Could we live hidden in the folds of the rotting Norwegian pine? Or when I find you, would we never touch? Would we instead breathe for the pure joy of night, lingering over dew-filled columbine? Would you whisper, "What are you?" Would I respond, "I am awake"? This next piece is called Small Standing Dance, and it was first published in Switch, an online magazine of microfiction that is edited by Elizabeth George. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And Carol Edelstein. Thank you very much. I've revised it a bit since it's online. What I've done is updated the pronouns because, things change. Small Standing Dance. I don't often dance, except sometimes, in my living room, around coffee cups and pillow forts. Today, I dance to delay matching socks or thickening soup. I move my body in the storm's coming silver light, flickering through the windows. Wonder if my neighbors can see me. Decide, I don't care. No, decide I won't care. Lost in this dialogue of muscle and air, I'm interrupted by a child, the fair one, the one with eyes like limes in the ocean, the child who does not look like me, the one who would not turn around in my womb, a peach who needed to be held by their mother and no other. This child sees me dancing and reaches out both hands. My turn, they say, and I sing. Here we go round the mulberry bush. Our arms snake through the air. Hokey pokey, our hands in prayer. Bunny hop, put your right foot in. We laugh as they fold into my arms. I rock all 4 years of this sprite, wishing I could always keep them safe. Sing thunder out of the sky. Do something more than pass on this weighted standing dance. This impossible twist and shout, this quicksilver search for joy. I have my red pen. So one of the things I found out in preparing for this reading is, I'm sure you all know, chapters are not short stories. And as I jump into these 2 chapters, here's what you need to know about what's going on. Greta's an American painter, a single mother of a 4-year-old, Maya. For the first time since her daughter's birth, Greta's in a relationship, but there are details about her past, especially her life in China, that she hasn't shared with Malcolm for a variety of reasons, the strongest being that she can't face them herself. She's forgotten how to see into darkness, become too rigid to be strong. She cannot find her light, which would allow her to return to the source of light. She's a broken bird who might someday dream of flying. Invitation, October 6th, 1994, Northampton, Massachusetts. Through the open window of her art studio, Greta hears the house phone ring and ring. Until 2 weeks ago, she was on schedule to deliver 5 new canvases to Max Silver's Mirror Arts. Now, it's like she's cursed. Her canvas stretcher broke, the paint delivery was late, a fuse blew in the studio, so there's no electricity, and she can't concentrate because, damn it all to hell, working in the dark reminds her of China. And if that weren't bad enough, Malcolm's been in Paris for 2 months, and he's coming home this weekend, and she's supposed to meet him in New York, yet she's so behind she feels like she's gonna crash and burn if she doesn't get something finished today. The ringing stops, and all she can hear is the rain. She stares at the canvas. The cobalt blue outline of a person floats in the middle of white space. This blue is like the color of the ocean, and also sapphires, rich and deep and full of life. Renoir loved painting with cobalt, as did Monet, as did Li Pan, master painter at the Academy of Fine Arts in China. For the length of time it takes her to fill her lungs with air, Greta allows herself to remember when they met. Pan standing at his easel, his tall frame blocking the canvas, long dark hair in a messy ponytail, the sleeves of his black leather jacket pushed up to his elbows, his fingertips stained with cobalt. That was 5 years ago on Solitary Island. He'd been painting the West Lake, and when the squeak of her bicycle wheel interrupted his concentration, he cursed 18 generations of her ancestors. Later, he apologized. There's a pull under her breastbone, a muscle tightening, a warning. Like a diver managing the deep, she has to limit her intake of memories so she doesn't lose control and drown. The phone starts up again. Maybe Malcolm's stuck in Paris, or maybe it's Maya's preschool teacher. Maybe that malicious 5-year-old made fun of her again. Greta runs across the yard. Above her, the plum tree canopy protects her from the rain. She bangs open the kitchen door and picks up the phone. Greta Lawrence here. Hello, Greta. It's been such a very long time. She presses her hips into the kitchen sink for support. Roger, what a surprise. The last time she'd seen the owner of Freedom Gallery was 4 years ago, in 1989, when she'd arrived with over 60 pieces of art, every one of them smuggled out of China. Greta's boss had told her to bring whatever she could carry to Freedom, saying Roger was the best person to handle the art. But Roger wanted to sell the work quickly, and they'd fought. I can't stand by while you undervalue the work of people I know and love. They have zero reputation outside of Hangzhou, and getting some money into their hands is better than having their work collect dust, Roger replied. She'd left in a fury, and then there was Maya, who became her excuse for not returning anyone's calls. Standing in her kitchen, Greta's cheeks flame red. Regret likes to mark her this way, make her heart visible. She's glad Roger can't see her. How have you been? She asks. Staying healthy is my way of saying fuck you to AIDS, but I'm calling to ask you a favor. She tugs on the refrigerator door. Not painting makes her hungry. To be honest, I'm way behind on the deliverables for an exhibit at Mirror Arts. Congratulations. I hear the investment banker Malcolm McNeil is hosting your reception. Seems like you two are inseparable, at least according to the Post's page 6. Greta shifts her weight from her front leg to her back. The Post prints whatever nonsense they like as long as it sells. You know that. How can I help? I'm having an opening on Saturday. Dissident Art, 5 years after Tiananmen. It's a jam-packed installation, and there are quite a few showstoppers. One in particular is getting a lot of attention from the previews, and I've already had an offer. Greta's hungry, and she has showstoppers of her own to create. That's fantastic, but it's a crazy time. What's the favor? The painting is dated but not signed. I was hoping you might be able to identify the artist. You know dissidents don't sign their work. They don't want trouble for themselves or for their families. What's the date on the canvas? Greta pulls a mass of green beans from the fridge and drops them in the sink. 1994, Roger replies. I left Hangzhou in '89. I still think you might be able to help. She runs cold water over the beans. Why? It's a portrait of you. She turns off the water. Are you sure? Absolutely. I'm meeting Malcolm in the city tomorrow. I'll be at the gallery at 2. Moon Garden, October 7th, 1994, Soho, New York City. Freedom Gallery occupies the first floor of a former warehouse on Spring Street. With huge picture windows, the gallery seems to extend onto the sidewalks, an architectural design that's always been good for business. Her hand on the door, Greta wonders what she'll find on the canvas. Roger offered to fax her a photograph of the work, but she declined, wanting to have the full impact in person. And now here she is, hungry and anxious. Never a good combination. Through the gallery windows, Greta sees the paintings double and triple hung one over the other on the walls. She shivers, thinking of the disappeared, the dead, so many willing to speak the truth. I should have offered to help. A white van from the nearby Poultry Street Market pulls into a parking space behind Greta. The van's reflection in the gallery window makes it look like she's caught on a canvas. She studies herself. Her bright red coat flares out like a giant triangle with pockets. She's captured her blonde hair in a low bun, yet the wind tugs at an uncooperative strand, causing it to dance above her head like a snake. Reaching for the monster, she wonders how different this barely held together version of herself compares to the image waiting for her in the gallery. She'd hoped to meet Roger alone, but when she told Malcolm about the painting, he said he'd meet her there. With a hard tug, Greta opens the door to the familiar smell of oil paint and turpentine. She hears the men before she sees them. Roger's tenor makes a counterpoint to Malcolm's baritone, and her heart trills as he comes around the corner in a freshly pressed mint green suit, his brown hair feathered neatly to his collar. Malcolm stands next to Roger, whose blue eyes are more the color of ice than ocean, and in his tweed jacket, Roger looks happier than when she saw him 5 years ago. Welcome to freedom, he says, shaking her hand. Such an upgrade from your last space, so much more room. Let's have coffee in my office, then we can look at the exhibit. Roger turns, and Malcolm takes the opportunity to pull Greta close and kiss her. He's had a shower, and his aftershave brings its own delight as she settles next to him on the velvet love seat. What can you tell us about the exhibit? Malcolm asks, handing Greta an espresso. Roger leans forward. We're showcasing truth tellers, artists who have to work outside of China. Some famous dissidents are here, but they're also paintings from people I've never heard of. There are close to 80 works on the walls, more than we've ever shown at the gallery. And what about the work Greta's featured in? Malcolm asks. The title, Moon Garden, is painted on the back, but it doesn't have a signature, and there's no artist listed on the inventory sheet. How could that be? The espresso lingers on Greta's palate, bitter and hot. We're working with Helen Rosenstern, the patron saint of Chinese artists in the city. I had to hire extra staff because the response to the show has been overwhelming, and I'm guessing that someone accepted the painting but didn't complete the paperwork properly. It's possible that Moon Garden came from Helen's storage space in Brooklyn, and that's why we don't have a manifest for it. Greta can't hide her incredulity. You're showing a work of art that's unsigned, and you have no idea whether it came to you from the artist or if it's from Helen Rosenstern's personal collection? I'm embarrassed to say that's true, Roger shrugs. I told you, there's a possible buyer, but they want to confirm the artist's identity first. Let's take a look at the painting. Malcolm sets the espresso on the table. Roger walks them to a room at the back of the exhibit where Moon Garden hangs alone on a wall. It's a large canvas, 3 feet wide by 4 feet tall, painted in oil. The focus is a woman standing in front of a white cottage. One hand opens a wooden gate. Naked, she floats above the garden, her blonde hair lifted by the wind. Her skin shines as though infused with light. Flowers fill the canvas, but instead of blossoms, each stalk holds a moon. Some are full, some half, others three-quarters and crescents. The garden has its allure, but the heart of the work is the woman's face. Her expression, rendered in color and light, is one of complete joy. Malcolm exhales, shifting his support to Greta's elbow, but she detaches from him like a boat pulled from its anchor. Since leaving China, Greta's built an internal geography that allows her to deal with the day-to-day. She's made herself as small as possible, and her inner world is landscaped with fences and stone walls, so the past, doesn't mangle the present. This painting makes her feel as if everything keeping her together might be swept out to sea. She approaches the canvas and moves her fingertips over the fine brushstrokes as though reading hieroglyphics, as if the identity of the painter might be dusted out of the blues and gold of the garden. In a heartbeat, Greta feels like she's back at the academy. The electricity's been out for days. The army's been posted in Beijing. She's on the floor of her room, on an island of blankets. Pan lies next to her. From a dormitory across the alley, students count. E, R, San, 1, 2, 3. There's an explosion of glass as a desk hurtles through a window, shattering on the courtyard below. After a month-long standoff between officials and protesters, this is the first time students have dared to damage official property. Greta expects Pan to tell her he has to leave, to attend some part of this escalating protest. Instead, he turns to her. Do you know moon love? No. The moon starts thin as a winter duck, but if you keep watching, you'll see it grow fat, then disappear altogether. He circles the inside of her arm with his finger. Across the alley, students launch more chairs, bottles, and books out of windows. If the army's in Beijing, will it be far from Hangzhou? Greta asks. Whatever happens, he whispers, I am the moon. I will always find you. Greta understands why the woman in the painting holds the gate open, why she stares beyond the canvas frame, and it's all she can do to keep her knees from buckling beneath her at this public reckoning of her private heartache. You said there was a date. Roger points, 1994. Impossible! Greta's internal world fractures and twists. She can't breathe. A woman in a leather skirt and black heels clicks across the gallery floor. Her eyes widen at the moon garden portrait come to life. Here's your facts, she says, handing the slippery pages to Roger. Roger turns to Greta and Malcolm. These are from the agent representing the painter who goes by the name Big Talent, or as he likes to be called, BT. I asked her to fax me photographs of several paintings so I could confirm my assumption. There's a strong correlation between his work and... Greta knows what Roger will say and needs to distract him. She can't have this conversation here. Not now. She can't break her promise. The date's wrong. Greta backs away from Moon Garden. Malcolm moves to her side, his voice gentle but pushing for clarity. It seems like the date is the only thing, well, one of two things we know for sure about this painting. Why do you think it's wrong? Locking her knees, Greta says, the only person who could have painted Moon Garden died in 1990. How can a dead man paint a portrait? Roger's frustration ricochets off the walls. He can't, Malcolm replies, every muscle of his 6-foot frame wound just shy of exploding. He was ready to be surprised by Moon Garden. On the flight to New York, he'd imagined everything from a quirky depiction of an American in China to the cliched capitalist in the classroom. What he never anticipated was a love letter. That was one punch to the gut. But the other was in their 6 months together. He's never once seen Greta as happy as she is on the canvas, as happy as he wants her to be with him. The sooner he gets her out of the gallery, the faster he'll understand what's going on. Gret, he rests his hand on the small of her back. Let's get some air, maybe something to eat. Greta nods. Roger will be in touch. Malcolm holds the door as Greta steps onto Spring Street, into the hard, flat light of the October afternoon. Roger's tenor rises. We don't got a lot of time. The white Grand Street poultry van is still parked outside the gallery, and Greta leans against its warm side. Her heart jitters like a bird caught in a chimney. Who would know the intimate details about her time with Pon? Could that person be trying to send her a message? Or is this about BT and his lies? Malcolm looks determined, and another knot forms in her chest. She's kept the details about this time in her life hidden so deeply they almost never come to the surface, until this week, until today. Now she'll have to tell him everything. The lie that got her job, how ineffective she was at keeping her students safe, her love affair, the terrible consequences of not telling the truth. And then what? Malcolm takes Greta's hand and they walk into the wind on Spring Street. She never sees the man in the driver's seat of the poultry van. She doesn't hear when the van door opens and closes, or the man's footsteps as he follows her, just like he used to do in China. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming out today. I'm aware there are many competing things going on today, so it's just lovely to have you here with us, and what a beautiful reading. So appreciate it. Our last, the Gallery of Readers has one more reading this season, which is going to be in the Florence Community Civic Center on June 22nd. It's a Sunday, 4 p.m. It's going to be a celebration of Switch, online magazine of short fiction, and the Pineapple Zine, which is the online magazine of Gallery of Readers. So we'll have a number of readers, we'll have refreshments and surprises, and we hope that you will come out. If you are not on our Gallery of Readers mailing list and you'd like to be, over where that sort of guest book for this museum room is, there's a sign up for that. We'd love to let you know about the readings that are coming up. And we're so pleased that Forbes Library is going to be hosting our series starting in the fall. So we'll regularly be in this room, and we're so grateful to Forbes Library. If you are moved to donate to them, that would be wonderful. We need our libraries more than ever right now, and we're very glad to be in what was our original home. This reading series started in 1991 in that gallery space. So we've been a number of places, long time at Smith, but it's just wonderful to be back here. Thanks for coming out. There's a lot of nice refreshments out there. Please linger, visit with one another, have food, and